How do you improve a boat that has already nailed the brief? This is the brand new Pardo 43 and it replaces the old 43, which is one of the most successful boats that Pardo's ever made. They sold over 200 of them. So the challenge is to improve on a formula that's already very good. The benefit is that you've got that great blueprint to work from in the first place. So the question is, how have they tried to improve this and has it worked? Let's find out in this full tour. I'm Jack Haines, you're watching YachtBuyer. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel, we'd really appreciate it. Hit subscribe and the bell icon and then you'll never miss one of our videos. Okay, on with the tour. Now in terms of dimensions, it isn't all that different to the boat it replaces. It's still 14 meters long, 4.2 meters wide, but what they've had the opportunity to do is refine all over the place to improve on that previous very successful recipe. So down here we've got a hydraulic bathing platform that's got a lift capacity of around 250 kilograms. You've also got a ladder now that extends down into the water and you can put poles in here so you get this nice easy entrance in and out of the water. The other thing you've got back here is some very useful storage. So there's a panel back here, and then this garage lifts up. You don't need to move any cushions, you don't need to mess around with the top of this at all, you just press a button and now it lifts up to reveal some really useful storage space. You can see you've got fenders in there, but you can put your toys in there, your water sports kit, all nice and close to the waterline, and then you can chuck it all away and drop it back down again. Now this is a boat that's about being close to the water. You drop that platform down, you get your toys out, you've got your nice ladder down into the water. You can see how nicely that would work. This is the typical Pardo Dayboat formula. It's such a good boat for an area like this in Florida. They sell loads of these over here and you really can see why. This central bit is really very flexible. The table's in half at the moment, but it can open up to double in size. You have a really nice outdoor dining space with the shade of this bimini over top. But all of these headrests can flip the other way. So this is dining mode. If you flip all of these over the other way, you turn this into a really lovely aft-facing sunpad. And then forward it does the same thing so that you can dine, but then what's really nice is forward here you can put these this way and you've got a space where 3 or 4 people can sit facing forward. So you've got your 3 helm seats well protected by the windscreen, but when you're traveling fast, because this is a quick boat, you have more people sitting here facing forward enjoying the ride. Now this is one of the major changes over the previous model. They've made this much more substantial, this wet bar. You're going to be cooking on deck a lot, so they wanted to make this even more usable. So you've got your grill, you've got a nice big sink, you've got storage and cooling space and an ice maker, and it's all really in touch with this area with a much nicer looking lid as well. The other thing about this lid is you've got a lovely handrail here as well. So right in the middle of the boat, you've got these rails here, you've got this one here, because as well as sitting, I imagine people will want to stand when you're cruising along and they've got somewhere they can really brace themselves nicely. The hardtop, a key feature. You had this on the previous model, but they have improved it. It's nearly as big as the hardtop on the 50-footer now. So this really does feel very substantial. And they've done some things to make it as secure as possible. It doesn't shake around, which I'll point out when we move forward. Some lovely detailing as well. The quality is sensational. It always is the Pardos, but it really feels like they've upped it on this boat. So you've got really nice, solid stainless rails, but these are great. These catches are gorgeous. And these pop open because you have bespoke flat fenders for this boat. So they've been hung over the side, tied onto the railings. You've got fender sockets as well. And then they all fit in here, clip away, and your fenders are safe and secure. Of course, you can use regular fenders as well, hence why we saw them earlier on. There are a couple more fridges down here too, underneath this section. That fridge is reasonably big, but nice to have some extras underneath the seats. And there's one final little detail along here, which is quite nice. You've got this boarding step. So if you're side 2, maybe getting onto a mothership, these do work very nicely as chase boats. You can step up and off the boat really easy. You have those on both sides. And typical Pardo detailing, really nice pop-up cleats, and then these rub rails, so the lines aren't going to rub on the paint here. And what lovely paint it is too. Remember, if you want to compare the new 43 to the old 43 and its rivals from other brands, you can do so on yachtbuyer.com using our head-to-head tool to see where the differences lie side by side. One area with major improvements is the helm, so let's take a look. They've redesigned this as well. Now this is extremely clean. You've got your 3 Garmin MFDs with the majority of your information, and then the smaller screens are fit flush, which is really nice. We often see an issue where you have all these different screens, it's not homogeneous, everything looks different. Well, this looks really sleek and clean. Driving position is really good. You can bolster on all three of these. They are fixed, but the wheel adjusts. So when you're tracking along, this feels like a really nice position with the throttles in hand. But the seated position is pretty good as well. Now, sitting back, I can just about reach the wheel. I can't quite reach the throttles, but if you're really going through the rough stuff, you're going to be standing anyway. So I like that position, and the windscreen is nice and high. And check these out. The thing about these T-tops, lovely as they are, as they can often shake around. So this connection here down to the windscreen should stop them doing that. The only thing I'd say is we are seeing a lot of this black, shiny fiberglass all over the place. There's loads of it back there. It's obviously on the helm. You do get quite a lot of flicker and glare, and it does scratch quite easily. So I'd like to see a little bit more matte material. They've got it up here, but I'd put a bit more lower down the dash. If I were them, nice cup holders as well, which are big enough to act as storage spaces too, and you've got your handhold for your passenger. Now, performance. They've introduced Outboards for the first time on the 43, really targeting this very popular American market. You can have 400s or 600s, and with the 600s, they say it's going to do 55 knots. It's actually got a redesigned, sharper hull, different to this one, to handle those higher speeds. If you don't have those, you've got 3 IPS options. The biggest one is IPS 650, so 480 horsepower per side, which is what this boat has got. Top speed more like 36, 37 knots. That is the one that will be most popular in Europe because you're running on diesel. That means you get the joystick, of course. This will most likely be run by the owner unless it's a chase boat. So having this joystick right here, you're set in the middle of the boat, you can see everything really easily. It means that slow speed maneuvers should be pretty simple. I'd maybe consider adding a bow thruster just to give you that extra control if you're mooring stern to a lot. In general though, really good quality helm design. Let's head forward. Pretty simple up here, no guardrails, but nice tall bulwarks, so it does feel pretty safe, and you've got railings inboard that you can grab onto. This is just flat sunbathing space. You can't tilt up these backrests, but you've got some shallow cup holders there to help keep your drinks still. This flap is obviously to allow light down to the cabin below, which we'll see in a moment. And nice to have this little bench integrated right forward, somewhere to sit when you're moving along at slow speed, catching the breeze. Yeah, I like these little spaces. Not your high speed option, but a nice place to sit nonetheless. And then right forward, of course, the practical stuff. The anchor locker, but even that is really well thought through. It seems simple, but nicely molded, all the same color as well as the exterior paint. You've got these nice rams to hold it open and really good access down to what is a very deep anchor locker with the typical Pardo hidden anchor system as well. Very slick. Let's see what they've done to the interior. But down here on the lower deck, there's sleeping space for 4 people. There's a twin back here. We'll pop in there in a moment. You have your day head there, and there's sleeping space for 2 people forward. There isn't a galley, but you've got some facilities. There's another drawer fridge. Again, on a big dayboat like this, having cooling space all over the place is very helpful. And I call it a dayboat, but they really have worked hard to make this a space to live downstairs a bit more. That is one of the key changes, and they've made most of those changes right forward. Because on the previous model, this was just a fixed bed. So they have made this much more functional. This table drops down. Obviously, if you want to dine, you can open it up. Don't see many people having their lunch or dinner down here, but you never know. So this drops down, nice and flush with this area. And then instead of having to find cushions and put them out to make this into a bed, they've done a bit of an axopar. This looks quite familiar, this mechanism, but you then just pull this over. It splits in 2, drops down, and there's your bed. How easy is that? This has to be easy, otherwise people just aren't going to bother. You have to stow cushions somewhere. That is a very good solution. And then when you want it back into sofa mode, there you have it. You can sit and enjoy it as a sofa. We have got some storage here too if you're sleeping on board. Nice deep hanging locker there. A very thin locker there, but you know, it all helps. Got some shelves up on this side as well, and there's some more lockers. Another major addition, how could I forget? Hull windows. That is one of the things that Nauta Design, who they've worked with us on this design, brought in. They're quite square. They're not that sympathetic to the beautiful lines on the outside. However, they do really help with natural light in here. When I'm sitting down, because I've got them down here at eye level, I can actually see the water, which is nice. Air conditioned down here as well. I can just feel it drifting through these vents. And there is a hatch overhead. We saw that on deck. So that's your escape hatch. Also, bit of ventilation and natural light comes down as well. Let's have a look at the mid cabin. Headroom is pretty compromised by the cockpit above, but they have, once you get in, put in a sort of well so you can stand and disappear up into there. But it's actually quite clever because it means you can stand down here. You're not always having to hunch over when you're moving around in this space. You've got a couple of nice single berths which are quite wide, should be pretty comfortable for an adult to use. They put a wine fridge down here as well. I mean, why not? There's some extra storage on both sides, and they've got some windows underneath the helm seats, so there's even some natural light down here. For this type of cabin, it's really well executed. The other thing you can do is not have that door, so it can be completely open plan. If you have family staying on board, that could be quite nice. Want more privacy, you can have the partition and make this a proper separate cabin. So look at the bathroom. Even if you don't intend to sleep on board, you want a nice bathroom. You can have a proper shower after a long day swimming out back. There's a good amount of space in here. Obviously you've got your toilet and sink, you've got some natural light both here and an opaque hatch above, so you've got light coming down above you as well. You can see headroom is decent, and you've got a totally separate shower cubicle. It's not just a curtain, it's a proper door with a rain shower head. Works very, very nicely indeed. On a boat like this, I wouldn't expect to have much headroom inside this engine space. Sure enough, it's pretty compromised. But the day-to-day stuff is pretty easy. This central area is quite good because you can drop down nicely from the hatch that's just behind the wet bar. You can get to the fuel filters easily. I can get to the Seakeeper. You could have a quick gyro if you wanted. Both are options, but nice that you've got full static stabilization on board this boat. The generator's just here again, right by the entrance, so you can pop your head in and have a look and make sure everything's okay. So yeah, obviously there are compromises here, but the general maintenance, day-to-day servicing, getting to the dipsticks and strainers is all relatively easy. Pardo builds much bigger, flashier, more expensive boats than this these days, but this model, the 43, is the one that put them on the map. The original set the benchmark for what a 14-metre open dayboat could do. Does this one raise the bar? It certainly does. This is the one to catch. They've done it again. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching that tour of the new Pardo 43. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a like if you did, and you can subscribe up there as well if you'd like to. The other thing you can do is watch more Pardo content. We've got a sea trial of its big sister, the Endurance 72. I'll put that up there. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Jack Haines. This is YachtBuyer.